What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast, episode 106, Spring Thunder. Dylan, what's going on, dude?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the weather.
Oh yeah, it was like almost 70 degrees here today. I got the e-bike out, rode down the lake. Just
Yeah.
got a brand new e-bike. I think I got like 3 miles on it now, but breaking it in before I bring it down to Tennessee and put it on them old hills up there down
Yeah,
there.
I've got some trails I want to see you try to make it up.
I'll try it. But this week, man, I'm excited for this one. We got Isaac Pentecost, man. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk with two hillbillies about some turkey hunting, man.
Yeah, man. Talking about turkeys is where it's at. If you're not doing it, I want to be talking about it. So,
Yep.
right up my alley.
And you've been doing it for a couple weeks now, right? Already this year?
Well, I mean, I've only been on a couple hunts. Well, I was fortunate enough to get my Osceola and be done. But yeah, like I said, I was fortunate to get one, and I'm now really the thing I kind of hate about South Florida is it starts so dang early.
Yeah.
And then you got 2 weeks before you can do either North Zone of Florida or Mississippi. So it kind of teases you, and then you just kind of sitting around. I mean, my itch is a lot worse now that I've done one and I can't do it again. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how is Florida? Is that just a one bird for each? So I know zero about Florida.
I think the bag limit's just 2. It don't matter
Okay.
what zone, but they're pretty dang expensive. So
Yeah.
I just shot one, called it good, scratched my itch for now. Anyway,
Right.
I've heard that. I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been on Paul's podcast today, but I heard that South Florida, or maybe just Florida in general, may go to a draw system for non-resident.
oh, that might be true. I mean, it's just, I mean, for one, you can only kill an Osceola in Florida. We all know that. And then even then, they'll call it a hybrid if it's into certain pockets or whatever north of the line.
Right.
And then, there's so much pressure because it opens up so dang early. I mean, I feel like Hawaii's about to get that way because, I mean, it opened up this year too, March 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are going to start flooding Hawaii just because they want to scratch that itch, which I see where they're coming from. And I'm one of them, so I can't blame them, but.
Well, for people that don't know you, Isaac, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, my name's Isaac Pentecost. I live in Heflin, Alabama, born and raised. I work at WoodHaven. My dad owns WoodHaven, so that's kind of the hierarchy. That's my game plan, what I'm going to be doing. I eat, sleep, live the wild turkey pretty much. So that's it, man. That's all there is about me. There's not much to me. I just like turkeys a lot.
Well, I should have hit record earlier when we were talking off air. You said you guys deer hunt because you could just come shoot them whenever at my house. Like, I don't even care.
Yeah, man. Doors open, screw the deer. I have a lot of respect for guys who are good deer hunters. I actually made a horrible financial decision, really a horrible logistic decision. I don't like deer hunting, and I bought a brand new 29.5 Matthews lift this year.
Nice.
Just on a whim. That's what I said too when I first got it. Nice. And then really, I like practicing at the range 10 times more than I like sitting in the tree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So deer hunting, man, I've tried. I got a buddy named Dylan Hazen, and he grew up in Wisconsin, but he lives in Iowa now to be a resident there. He's that deep into deer hunting.
Right.
He told me, he said, man, you're going to get on some hunts with me. You're going to get eat up with it. And I'm like, I want to really bad. Like, I want to feel what they feel with deer, but man, I just can't make myself. I don't know. I just can't make myself do it. I don't know.
I get it, man. I get it for sure, especially growing up the way you did and being in that. So I kind of wanted to highlight that a little bit. Like when I got into turkey hunting, actually, I killed my first turkey before I killed my first deer. But my dad had never done it. My uncles that I hunted with, we had never turkey hunted. So it was like we were all learning together and trying to figure that out. You had a hell of a cast, growing up the way you did and the people that you grew up around. Talk about growing up around those people and the influence on your dad had on you, turkey hunting and so forth.
Yeah. Those are very different perspectives for how you learn to turkey hunt. I mean, I couldn't even relate to your perspective
Right.
in any sort because, I mean, I have 3 siblings and we all competed in turkey calling competitions growing up. Well, that's just what we did. That's just normal thing.
Right.
We did that. I mean, I hunted with people like, Scott Ellis, grew up around Mark Scroggins, Billy Yargis, my dad, obviously. And it's like, those are legends you're listing off, and it's like they're just, oh, it's just Billy. It's
Yeah.
just I
Right.
think that's just I have a lot of respect for them, but at the same time, it's like they're friends of mine. So that's definitely a different perspective. But I think, I think you get it honest either way. I feel like that drive's there for sure either way.
Yeah.
That's one thing you can't teach is a drive to do it or a love
Yeah.
for it.
Absolutely. But I would say, did you have any success in those calling competitions at a young age?
Yeah, so y'all probably gonna like this. We've won. Me and my brother Jacob. I'm 18. He's 17,
Mm-hmm.
and we're only 11 months apart. And when we grew up, we would win like the state competitions, like Georgia and Alabama and stuff. We'd win the Polts just about every time. And then again, this ain't bragging. This is just how it
Right.
was. And then we compete in like the junior division, and we do pretty well in that. And then when we were still like 8, 9, 10 years old, we compete in the senior division, and we'd still get top 5 or something. Of course, it was mainly friction. The only thing we would do with our mouth, we didn't use mouth calls. We'd like tree yelp and cluck and purr with our mouth, just straight with your mouth. But I have 3 siblings, so I have a sister. She's 21, and then I have an older brother who's 25. He's not into turkey hunting, and she's a girl. Girls can hunt, but that's just
Yeah.
not that's just not her thing.
Right.
Long story short, we've all won the Polts Division Grand National Championship. We've all won at one time.
That's insane, man.
Yeah. So that kind of puts into perspective how we literally grew up with a call in our hand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I had to struggle my way with when we started. I mean, I'm 32, so I think we started. I was probably in like the 6th grade, and my dad never turkey hunted, and he had me out there, buddy. And you talk about trial by fire. We were learning, and then you kind of get the hang of what not to do pretty quick.
oh
So
yeah, man, they'll teach you quick.
I honed in, and I was fortunate enough to where my parents let me skip school a little bit, so I would be chasing turkey heavy. And then even into high school, my ag teacher, man, me and him would we didn't have first period or whatever, so me and him would go chase turkeys. We'd shoot some, we'd bring them back to school, we'd clean them right there. So like it
Whole
is
mastery
something
too.
that yeah, it's one of those things that like once it clicks, dude, you're either a lifetime turkey hunter or you just dabble in it. Like it's either extreme or I might
Oh
go,
yeah, you're all in or all out for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I mean, we got it bad, or else. I mean, if we're on this podcast, we got it bad. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
we got it
For
really
sure.
bad.
I always ask people kind of the tradition of turkey hunting in their home states. Talk about the traditions of turkey hunting in the state of Alabama.
Well, one thing we do every year is we always hunt opening day in Alabama. Of course, we go to a lot of states. Mississippi's opened up by then. I think that might be about it. But we always hunt multiple states. But of course, we're always back for opening day. We always usually take the youth weekend before, of course. And usually it's on public land too, not on opening day because that's private. The 25th is private. Then on the 1st, public opens up. But my dad's big thing is he didn't have land to hunt, and he was kind of the same boat y'all were in. Not really anyone that knew how to do it when he grew up and everything. So he hunted strictly public land. Uh, didn't know anything about calls at the time. I mean, obviously, you see where that's gone, but
Yeah.
didn't know anything about calls at the time. And he just had to learn on his own. Of course, I didn't have to do that. You still learn things on your own. I mean, hunting by yourself, of course, you pick up on things that, or even if someone did tell it to you, when you see it in the woods, it makes you a believer,
Yeah.
But as far as traditions in Alabama, I don't really know. I mean, we always hunt opening day. There's a Mexican joint we always eat at. I mean, these are traditions I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because we kind of do the same thing in Tennessee. He's got me hooked on this Polo Loco plate at some hole in the wall joint. We get a couple beers after having a bird down on
Yep.
opening day. It was pretty fun. Talk about your role at WoodHaven. What exactly is it that you're doing in your position?
Yeah. So I've always done a little bit of everything. I've worked in the mouth call room. I've worked in the wood shop. I've packaged before. I tune calls. I mean, I've done everything at one point or another. I think in October I became the social media coordinator So right now, it's what I do, part of the marketing department. But
Gotcha.
I've done everything. I mean, I can do just about anything within the company, and I really just go wherever I'm needed. I mean, my title right now is social media coordinator, but like if they need some Cherry Classic crystals matched with strikers, we hand match every single one. So like if they need them done, hey, we need some, I'll go back there and do that. Need a good sounding box call. What's his face isn't here to do it. I'll go back there and match up a box call. So really just doing whatever's needed.
Yeah, because you guys stay. I mean, I've always used WoodHaven. For as long as I can remember, I'm very brand loyal. So
We
like
appreciate that.
once I get on something, you can ask Brett. I'm fumbling around. I'm dropping WoodHavens everywhere. But the one thing I can say, I've been going to the NWTF for probably 10 years, man, and that is always the pop-in booth to try to get in and get out of. So I mean, there's success in it for sure for you guys, and that means you're doing something right, because I don't think there's anything that sounds better than a raspy WoodHaven.
We appreciate that. Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to have a pretty dominant presence at the NWTF convention. That's definitely helped a lot.
Yeah, I saw some of your guys' posts on socials and stuff, and it looked like some pretty busy days there at the booth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, they get long. I mean, if you got to think about how you're going to get to the bathroom, it's like, what are we doing? And how you're going to get back?
And this year was insane, man. I feel like this year it had to have been the record year.
It was. I think it was 82,000 or something.
I feel like they missed a few.
Long ago, but yeah.
Yeah, because it was like shoulder to shoulder, dude. Like it's hard to get in there and actually, shop for whatever you're looking for.
Oh yeah, Friday afternoon, all day Saturday. Those are unreal.
Talk about planning your spring out. I've seen some videos where you're in Mexico and all of these other places. How do you put that schedule together, being as hectic as it is?
That's a great point. I remember Paul said he just lets his wife do it, and that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't know how to feel about that either, actually. But Josh Anderson is also in the marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
Now he really coordinates all that, plans it all out. Like literally, I mean, he just say hop in the truck, like we're going here, and I'm like what I tell him is as long as I'm in the woods every day, if it's possible, I don't care where I'm at. Let's just go do it. I mean,
somewhere.
Yeah, as long as I'm in the woods somewhere, I don't care what we do. But we have some plans this year, like the obvious ones, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, of course. I mean, that kind of southeast, they're easy to hit for us. Illinois, we're going to do, I think, Washington, Idaho, and California. Those are all new to me that we'll be doing this year. And then, of course, Mexico. And then after Mexico, we'll go to Michigan. We're actually going to hunt there in June with Mike Chamberlain.
Nice.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. Him and my dad are actually pretty close. I like Mike a lot. I respect him a lot. He's a good man.
That's cool. He's actually our next guest for next week's show. He'll be on.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a good man. And he knows so much. Lord have mercy, man. It's crazy. He's so full of knowledge, yeah.
Have you hunted Michigan before?
I have. Michigan's another one of those Tennessee type states, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a bird in just about every field. And then, I mean, it's like just try not to hit them with a truck so you can have a good hunt and call them in. But it's a one bird state.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many birds. I mean, it's just one of those like Tennessee type states. I mean, if you don't kill one, like hang it up. Like we're going in June and are still confident that they're going to be working and there's plenty of birds. So,
yeah, that's where I end my season every year. I'm there right around Mother's Day weekend, right before Memorial Day weekend, and them birds are still, I mean, absolutely fired up. You could smack your call against a tree and they're probably going to gobble.
I think our last day last year was May 29th. I'm pretty sure.
That's crazy.
And I mean, they did their thing, man. I think we killed 5 birds in a day and a half or something. I mean, they just did their thing.
Yeah. Talk about filming your hunts. Is you have like a production crew that goes with you, or is it just one guy kind of putting it all together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we usually contract 2 videographers for sure. Dylan Hayes and Josh Anderson, both names I mentioned. And then we also have guys like Philip Vanderpool. I'm sure y'all know Philip Vanderpool.
Sure.
Yeah, he's a legend, and he runs with us. Yeah, we just have guys like that. Dylan and Josh are always constants. Philip runs with us for sure. And then really we just go do our thing. Now having to keep up with the social media when I get back, there's a little bit more editing pictures and videos and stuff I got to do. But that's kind of on the back burner of my brain, as y'all can imagine.
Yeah.
I just worry about hunting really. And then Josh and or Dylan will edit the actual like YouTube content. So all that's kind of out of my – I don't have to worry about it too much during the season, which I like. I mean, I like focusing on – I mean, we get told we take it too serious sometimes, but, man, it's serious. It's – so I like to focus up and make sure I'm locked in and, doing what we need to do.
Do you ever get to just slip out by yourself, no film guys, or is it always somebody with you?
Man, that's a good question. 90% of the time, there's someone with me filming. But in Alabama, specifically Alabama, it opens up on opening day. Of course, we film opening day. Like I said, it's a little bit of a tradition we do to hunt opening day and, Lord willing, get one on film and all that good stuff. Last year, we were fortunate enough to, but for sure, a few days in Alabama, that's one of my deals. No camera, just me, the woods, the turkeys, and I just take off.
It's got to feel free when it's
man,
just
that
you
is
and
a
you
great
can.
feeling. And then when I kill one, I just send a picture to the camera guys. I'm like, man, and what I always do, man, I could call. I mean, I could kill this turkey, just hear him drumming. He sticks his head up over the crest. I shoot him. I'm gonna text the camera guys, be like, dude, if I had a camera with me, like this was the best footage. This turkey strutted down this roadbed 250 yards. He gobbled probably 100 times, and he just tore up the woods. And that's what I tell him, because it's like, man, if we would have been filming this one, man, that gets him fired up.
Yeah, last year was Dylan's first rodeo with a camera in the turkey woods, and at first he was like, "Man, I don't know if I really like this," because we kind of had a game plan. We hopped in a blind. They had been hitting this particular field right off the bat, and we thought we'd just set up in a blind and kind of wait them out. And he got about maybe hour and a half into it, and we both look at each other like, "Let's get the hell out of this blind and just go chase them, dude. Let's go." And it worked out for us.
No, man, I cannot stand a blind turkey hunting. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's windy. The only time, even if it is a big open field, man, I still don't want to sit in a blind. Mm-hmm. I'd rather brush in and make my own blind before I sit in this polyester blind. I mean, it's like, I'm not throwing any shade on people that hunt out of blinds, but this is my biggest point. It's like, we love the woods. The woods, is where I find peace. And I'm going to do it inside of a 6x6 polyester cube.
Yeah.
Something about that ain't adding up to me.
No.
So that's kind of my take on blinds. Again, I'm not throwing shade at people who do. I understand it too if you're taking like a youth or someone's disabled, wheelchair.
Yeah.
All that makes perfect sense. And I'm not throwing shade at people who are perfectly capable to do it. But that's kind of my stance on it.
Yeah, I like being mobile. I like being able to take off if I have to, and move around, because you know how those birds do. They'll swing around on you, and then if you're in the blind and you're not ready,
you got to swing around on them too. I mean, them suckers. I mean, really, if you just get where they want to be half the time, that's half the battle. It really is. Good positioning is more important than just about anything. You can be the best caller in the world, but man, if they don't want to be where you're at, what are you gonna do?
Yep.
Let's talk some gear. Little vest talk. Obviously you're running WoodHaven, but right off the get go in the morning, what are you breaking out of that vest?
Locating or just calling in general?
Just calling. I'll get to the locators in here in a second.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure I got my facts.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was going to go on a 30-minute tangent about an owl hooter, and we ain't even talking about owl hooter.
Right. Not yet.
Early in the morning, I like to get real soft, some kind of cutter cut, combo cut. I usually run a combo cut for just about anything. Mm-hmm. Usually a cutter cut, a little slit on the left side. I always push my air to the right, so I like to have that cutter cut on my right side. Soft stuff, little bubble clucks. I wish I would have warned me. I would have just brought a mouth call and demonstrated. But just little bubble clucks. Real soft tree yelps. But really, if they're still on the tree, I usually give them something to let them know I'm there. Because if not, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why would he come here if he doesn't know I'm here?
Right.
Right.
But I also see the stance. If you call to him, he's going to stay in the tree till you come to him, or until you keep calling. I usually like to give him something though. A couple bubble clucks, soft tree up if he's still on the limb. Let him know where I'm at. If he answers me once, man, I'm not calling again until he's on the ground. He knows where I'm at. If you keep calling to him, man, he'll stay on the limb until you come to him. Or, I mean, you're probably giving him everything he wants if he's up there on the limb. So
Right.
I like to just give him just enough. If he answers once, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's how I start my morning.
What about roosting birds and locators? I know you said you were going to do a 30-minute tangent on owl hooters. Let's hear it.
Well, that was kind of a half-hearted joke, but now you got me in a rock and a hard place. We make an owl hooter called the Ninja Owl.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's the owl hooter I use. I like it a lot. I'm not a Scott Ellis on an owl hooter, but I sound like an owl. I don't sound like a stage-ready owl, but I sound like an owl.
Right.
I like hooting at them, but it's only early in the morning and trying to find one. You don't know really where they're at. You want to get one to gobble or putting them to bed. Really, during the day, I like to use a crow call. We have it's called a ninja crow call we have, and, man, you can just wail on it, man. And to me, I mean, you're just getting so much more volume.
Mm-hmm.
And matching, I think just that high frequency, like you just hammer on that thing, I think that high frequency makes them gobble more than anything. So for locators, that's really about the extent for me.
I got you. I know some people do like coyote howls and all that kind of stuff. I'm similar to you. I just use an owl and a crow. I had a bird on public one time. You didn't matter what you threw at him, he wouldn't gobble. And what was even weirder, which it later made sense, but he was still in the tree at like 10 o'clock, and I didn't know that he was still in the tree. But the only thing he would answer to was a crow call. So I would just like hit it, hear him gobble, and I kind of was going towards him because I could tell where he was at. There was a big power line cut out on this lake. And when I got close enough, I realized he was still in the tree, and I just hit the ground, tried to get him to come out of the tree, and I could never get that bird to come out of the tree, and I'm not going to shoot him out of the tree.
I was about to say, tell us what really happened. You lifted that sucker.
No, I'm thinking about it now. Maybe I should have, but just not my game. I like to play the game with him.
Oh,
he was still in that power line cutout. I ended up leaving there about 1 o'clock, and he was still in that tree.
Yep.
Gun setup, and ammo is always a hot topic. What are you rolling with?
I got a Stevens 301 20 gauge, single shot, of course. Pistol grip. Vortex released that Viper enclosed red dot this year. I think I'm gonna put that on it. I didn't have it on it for Florida, but I think I will before Mississippi or Alabama won. And then Apex's Next Level Ninja 20 gauge, of course. That's what I like shooting. It's an 8.5, 9.5 blend, I believe. And, man, that stuff can shoot.
Oh yeah.
It takes a tighter constricted choke. I was using just regular. We have a Turkey Ninja load. It's just 8.5, and I was using that with a factory choke on that Stevens 301. And then I shot the Next Level, and, man, the pattern was horrible. I mean, in all honesty, it was horrible. And then I got a tighter constricted choke. I got an Indian Creek 5.55 choke, put it on there, and, man, it's lights out. I mean, 40 yards. I mean, you better hope you still got a head at 40.
Yeah. I shot one with a 410 2 years ago, and I was anticipating. I mean, he was super close, but I shot, and dude, he didn't flop. Like he was just, done, and it took me off guard because I've shot him at the same distance with a 12 gauge, and then they flop around like crazy. But man, there's something about those light guns that just make you want to push that little extra bit, And then I was like, man, I can't. He's right here. I can't miss him with the 410 because then I'm going to blame myself for bringing the 410 over the A5. So I honed in a lot more than the A5, just throwing it up and shooting. So I think a 20 gauge is next for me. Probably do the Stevens as well because that's the 410 I'm running. But yeah, dude, I love the smaller, gauges now.
Man, that gun is so light. That Stevens 301. I used to shoot like an M2, Benelli M2. That used to be that was my dad's go-to, so that became my go-to. That's just kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And it's a good gun, and it's got the inertia recoil system, so it kind of gives you a break there. I'm gonna be honest with you, the Stevens 301, man, you ain't getting no break with the recoil. It's all punching you straight in the shoulder, and you're just gonna have to, take it. But you don't feel it. The only time it really becomes an issue is when you're patterning your gun.
Yep.
When you shoot a turkey, you don't feel it. You don't even hear it. I don't feel like.
No.
I mean, your ear might ring for a second, but you just do that and go pick up the turkey,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I saw you that video you guys just put out a couple of days ago where the two Osceolas come running in. That's what made me think of the gun setup question, because he just talking about that one not flopping. That one you shot in Florida, I don't think it flopped either. It went straight back.
Oh, yeah.
With a hammer on it, boy.
I could show y'all some pictures from that bird that y'all might not want to see, or you might want to. The podcast might not want to see, but
that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, they've come a long way with the shells and the chokes.
Yeah, and we use decoys. It's all situational. In Alabama, I don't use decoys just about period, because either they're decoy shy or you have to run around so much. I don't want to carry a DSD around with me.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
But when they do come in decoys, like that bird I shot in Florida, for example, it was 3 gobblers together. I might be crazy. Y'all might can ask Dr. Chamberlain about this. But when those birds are running together in the spring, they have very similar movements, and they kind of stay together. Like when they're working around the decoys, they're kind of moving their head the same. They don't really get too far apart. So there's that. And then the bird I shot was a dominant bird out of the 3, and he wasn't hardly breaking strut. But the keyboard warriors think otherwise from their homes, and they tell you should have putted at them. I'm like, why would I putt at this turkey? And then they tell you, well, they're too close. Man, my pattern is a freaking softball. 20 yards, and you're trying, I think it's not. I think shot selection now comes more to knowing your setup and knowing your gear, just knowing the situation. If it was just lead, and we didn't have TSS, yeah, that's a bad shot. But with a softball size pattern, no other turkey's harmed. I don't see
Right.
I don't see the issue with that.
So you said the decoy is situational, and you kind of named some states and stuff in there. What is that situation? Is it where you're going, weather, henned up birds, that kind of thing? What makes you bring a decoy or leave it at the truck?
It's a good question. Factors with the actual turkeys when you get there. If you're hunting a big open field, sure, you could call a gobbler in if he's by himself, no problem. But the issue is he's out there 80 yards. He can see you the whole way, and he's still not seeing that hen, and he's going to, start to look harder and tuck that wing. When he tucks that wing, you already screwed up,
Mm-hmm.
So big open fields like that, decoys help. My go-to with a decoy is usually a Jake and a bedded hen, just kind of the classic.
Yeah.
But with grouped up turkeys too, if they're a big flock of turkeys, 2 gobblers, 3 jakes, 7 hens, to get that group of turkeys to even move off of their beaten path, half the times you have to get a decoy for them something to look at, or something to make that gobbler break.
Right.
Sometimes you can yelp and piss a hen off and get her to come, and then the gobblers are in tow. But usually with those bigger flocks of turkeys, you do need a decoy. But like in Alabama, it just doesn't get open enough for it to make sense. If you have a good road bed, I might put 1 hen, just a feeding hen, just to give him something to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But when are you realistically going to find a road bed that's more than 60 yards straight away, in Alabama? Or for me, that's not a very common thing. And if he does come around the corner and see something, I can shoot him at 60, So I wouldn't say decoys are one of the biggest tools in the arsenal, for sure. It's just situational. Like I said, bigger flocks of turkeys, open fields. That's about the extent of it for me.
Yeah, I've found myself sometimes I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna wait them out this morning. I'm gonna take this decoy in, and probably 9 times out of 10, I end up having to come back and get that decoy because I've got impatient and I've taken off after that bird. And man, I do like what you're saying with the road beds. I'll cut strut zones on my farm, so like right outside the hay fields and the clover fields, once late season when that's real high, those birds wasn't using it as much. So I started cutting these strut zones right on the edge of the fields. And I've been hunting, 15 yards off of the field, looking straight up that strut zone. And I should have had the camera on video mode, but I didn't. My trail camera. I was back there hunting, left the decoy up, ended up hearing a bird somewhere else. Didn't go back and get the decoy. Go in there the next morning, there's feathers, and that decoy was like 4 foot from where I had left it on the stake. And that bird had went in there, and on the trail cam, you can see him like a couple pictures of him standing there posed up with it. And if I'd had it on video, man, that'd have been really cool because I know, he bred what he thought was a hen. And so,
Oh Lord,
yeah. And then you end up, having it in your back and you're trying to get set up. And man, I hardly ever use them myself, even on the fields. I think it was Shane that said, or maybe Scott, they found themselves setting off 15, 20 yards further back than the field because it's going to get that tom to come, get curious. And that's kind of my decoys, man. I just don't want to carry them around with me.
If you're going to carry decoys, that's a decision you make either the night before or before you go out.
100%.
I'm not putting a decoy in the back of my vest. I mean, there ain't no way. If I carry a decoy, I know where I'm going, and I already know where I'm putting that decoy before I go out. And then, like they said, I mean, that's right. You can't just sit on the edge of a field because he's never going to see you. Right. It helps, but like y'all two run together. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of you can be 20, 30 yards back calling. I mean, Dylan might be the better caller. I'm not making assumptions. I'm just saying situation. He might be the better caller. You might want him to call, to get the turkey closer. But after he gets, to where he can start seeing, let Brett start calling behind you pretty good ways and, kind of close the deal.
That's really pretty similar to what happened to us in Tennessee last year. We were hunting like off the point of this bluff, and Dylan was how far behind me? 10, 15 yards or
I was about 15, 20 yards. And, you've hunted Tennessee. So opening weekend, dude, it's hardwoods, mature hardwoods. You can see as far as you can hear them gobble. Mm-hmm. And we just could not get over that hill. I told Brett, I was like, man, I'm going to sit right here in this blowdown. You get up there and just let me know what I need to do.
Hey, but worked out though.
Yeah. And he was literally like giving me the signs, call, like boom, call. And he missed. And then he was like, keep calling. So I called, and then he killed one. Yeah, man, and then, you can hunt these turkeys, and like you've hunted them all over the place, and you finally think maybe you got them figured out. Then they throw a curveball at you. It's like, man.
Oh, yeah. Man, that'll make you feel stupid. There ain't no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But one of the big struggles with calling behind somebody is if I can see a turkey, I can judge his behavior and decide when I'm going to call, how I'm going to call to him.
Yeah.
If I'm behind you 30 yards and I can't see him, it's just shooting in the dark of what he wants or what I need to give him. I mean, I might be over calling, I might be under calling. He might need a little something. I can't give it to him because I can't see him.
Yeah.
That's the only thing about calling behind somebody is you really can't gauge what you need to do and why you need to do it, when you need to do it. That's kind of a downside of that.
What about fanning? What's your opinions on people fanning birds?
Oh God, we made it 33 minutes in. Kind of like the blind thing. I mean, all the power to them, but I just don't scratch my itch. I mean, work for a game call company, kind of the goal, the life plan here to keep that going, and then I'm just gonna. I mean, sure, you hear some good vocalizations because you can hear them, whining and the fighting purr and all those. But man, that just doesn't get me going, really. Same. I mean, to me, I want to hear him go. I want to battle. I want to have to reposition on him. I want him to get hung up. I want to throw the kitchen sink at him if it takes that. And I want him to break, that or just a perfect hunt. He's answering, gobbling, strutting. He's just going to come down the road. I mean, I don't think a fan – you could kill just about any turkey in America with a fan. The only advantage we don't have on a turkey is not being a turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take that aspect out of it, if you're showing them what they think is a turkey, they see a fan, they're thinking gobbler. They're not looking for his body and everything. They see that full fan. So I mean, if you take that aspect out of it, how are you really winning? I mean, you're winning in a battle that's already won.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, there's nothing like that feeling when, he's 300 yards away, he goes quiet for a minute, and then boom, he's 100 yards away. Like that
Mm-hmm.
feeling right there, I wish you could bottle up and sell.
Oh man, you'd be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, you be quiet for a minute, and then he's at 100 yards. That can vary too. In Alabama, southeastern states, I mean, I think being quiet and patient kills more turkeys than anything. Period.
Yep.
But I
I
mean, when you
agree.
go out west or Texas, they got a million Rios. Kansas, out west, Montana, Merriam's Rios. Man, you can't feed them enough. I don't feel. I mean, you can overcall those turkeys, but I mean, I feel like it's pretty rare. And you just keep feeding them. But here, I think silence kills more turkeys than anything.
Yeah. They get
Like I said,
curious.
letting them know where you're at and just pique that curiosity, man. He's gonna break. It might take all day. It might take 3 days, but he's gonna break.
Yeah, there's one particular turkey I remember. I roosted him, knew where he was at. The day before, he went up this ridge. I get where he was headed. He's super vocal. He flies down. He goes the other direction, answering every time. But he's dead set on where he's going. So like he'll cover 100 yards. I'd cover 50 right behind him. And we probably went 300, 350 yards. And then finally, man, I could see him going up the side of the ridge, and I hit him just a little cluck, and it was insane. He just turned around, straight beeline, straight and killed him. But it's like I just had to keep following him till, like you said, he finally had enough, and he got curious, and he's like, well, if she's going to follow me out here, I might as well meet her halfway. And dude, I mean, he put on a show, spitting and drumming, and but like I sat there afterwards, and I was like, that is insane. Like I literally just had to follow that bird 350 yards for him to turn around and then come exactly where he just was. And dude, they do some crazy things. I shot a super Jake one time. He come in strutting with like 5 or 6 hens. He had a good enough gobble for me. And I didn't know it. I shot that bird too. But he had hens with him. So I didn't even think to look, cause he was in and out of strut. So it's just wild what a turkey can make a man feel, or the terrain that he had me and Brett going. I was carrying his camera, man, ready to, tuck and roll. I was scared to death with that camera. We had to cross a creek and big ravines. But man, I'll put some miles on the boots if there's a turkey gobbling.
Oh man, I love putting miles on the boots. But you kind of have those mornings though, where the morning wakes up slow. The songbirds aren't songing as much. The crows ain't calling as much, and the turkeys for dang sure ain't gobbling as much. And it's going to be a long day. But to me, I kind of get a lot out of those days because it disciplines yourself to walk more, to go deeper, to try to find that one bird who is fired up. There's one in there somewhere fired up. So I think those days really make you push yourself more.
It brings the woodmanship out. How you're gonna, what are you gonna do? I mean, you may know the train a little bit. If you don't know it, definitely pull OnX up or something, check it out, because you could. Maybe you get one to gobble on the limb. You at least maybe know location of where they were at a certain point, and then maybe try to go around them or go down and then come up on the other side. Just depending on where you're hunting. I know that eliminates a lot of states that I hunt, because most of the states I hunt are all flat.
Sure. I mean, knowing topography helps a ton. I mean, knowing where you're at, period. I mean, if you know where a turkey wants to be and they aren't gobbling, well, he's going to be somewhere close. But one of my big things is when the woods do wake up. For one, that's one thing we probably all take for granted is the woods waking up. I mean, there's a ton of people out there who couldn't care less about hunting, and that group of people probably wouldn't care to go sit against a tree and just listen to everything wake up in order.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning it's in the same order. I don't know the order. The Lord knows the order, but this songbird, then this songbird, then this songbird. Crow may go off, a turkey's going to gobble. And it's just like, I mean, it's in the order every morning. To me, that is so spectacular. And I feel like we take that for granted, but along with that, as you listen to that, you can learn a lot about the day. I mean, if the woods are waking up slow, like I said, the songbirds ain't singing as much. I mean, you can go ahead and make an assumption in that calculated order that the turkeys aren't going to be gobbling as much. The hens might not be as vocal. So just kind of taking that. I mean, if the woods wake up quiet, I'm going to stay quiet. You know, if I am moving around finding those birds, if the woods woke up slow, I'm probably going to keep my calling slow and, you know, soft. And when I am working around that topography, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great perspective, because last Monday I was helping my fiance do something and the sun was setting and she was like, "Wow, look at that." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I caught myself kind of being like I could see her admiration and like her appreciation of it. And I was like, "Is that the first time you've seen that in a while?" Like, and she was like, "Yeah, like, I'm normally inside or whatever." And I was like, "Wow." You know, I was like, I see that almost every morning when I'm hunting or, you know, chasing birds. And like you said, we do kind of get caught up in the chasing the bird. And that's something seeing her do and then hearing you say that, I want to really slow down on this year and try to just appreciate the those slow starts, or, you know, not rush it, because I don't know, that was something for me, you know, me and Brett getting out there early and kind of chit chatting around and waiting for the sun to come up. And then that click, like you said, where it just turns on and nobody
Sure.
knows what time it's turning on, or, you know, when it's going to stop. But yeah, man, that I think this year going into it, I'm just going to slow my roll and really, I mean, I'm still going to chase them hard, but
That's the biggest thing really about life in general, but hunting too is just perspective. You know, you got to think like, man, it's not like, man, I got to hunt in the rain today. It's like, man, I get to go turkey hunt today.
yep.
And that's the thing that is just so, I mean, I wish I could make people feel what I feel when I do it.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, people still think you're crazy to this day, you know, and they always, I mean, until I'm in the grave, they're going to think I'm crazy. But, I mean, I just wish people could experience that. And like I said, not taking it for granted, man. You know, I got so many mornings.
I think a lot of people take for granted the friendships and that sort of thing when it comes to any kind of hunting, really, not necessarily just turkey hunting, but like me going down to Tennessee and us having the roundup down there and buddies coming in to hang out with us after we hunt, and, you know, sitting by the campfire in velvet season with Dylan, just drinking some beers and, you know, just really shooting the breeze, you know, and then just, you know, I don't get to see these people that I get to hunt with in these other states. I don't get to see them all the time. So when I do get to see them, I like to enjoy, you know, the friendships that come with it.
No, yeah, that's a huge part of it, man. And I guess that kind of goes into the part where it's just kind of hard to explain to people who
Right.
don't
Hmm.
do it, but like that's kind of why we do it. But you can't really explain that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that Dylan's better than a goblin turkey.
Right.
If that's what you're getting at.
I have the goblin turkeys. That's what he
Yeah,
Yeah.
said.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
And that's why Brett likes you so much, man.
yep.
Everything's
Yep.
kind of coming together. This is like Dr. Phil or something.
Yeah. And dude,
But
it's cool because you like right now, like you know, you like you said, you scratched the itch already, but I'm like a kid before Christmas. And each year I'm like, well, I can't be more excited than I was last year because it was miserable having to wait. And then I mean, I'm chomping at the bit to get out here and chase
mhm.
birds. And then, you know, you rush for it to get here, then you shoot your birds if you have the opportunity, and then it's like, all right, well, what do we do now? You know, you think about next year, and you binge watch the WoodHaven YouTube. Like you just, it's a never ending cycle of just, you know, like you said, people think we're crazy because it lit
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. Oh man, I can never get enough of it, man. I mean, especially right now, I'm sure. I mean, for me, this is a year-round thing. Just well, really, it's a daily thing because it's my job as
Right.
well. But
Right.
running calls, I mean, like most guys, it's like, well, you know, the NWTF convention wrapped up. I were to get that call out the freezer. People would freeze their mouth calls. I don't guess I'll ever understand that one either.
What? I've
But
never even heard that.
yeah, man, people freeze their mouth calls. I ain't kidding.
That's
That's a real
wild.
thing. Man, I just killed my last gobbler of the year. Put that sucker in the freezer. And
That's
that's a real
crazy.
thing. I guarantee you.
That's wild,
If you
man.
think I'm crazy, ask around. They'll probably tell you I'm crazy too. But the thing is I think that's where you find your real passion at. I mean, like you said, there's guys that'll shoot a turkey every year, but I think the guys who want to sound like that hen, like that turkey, they want to sound like a turkey, that call year round, work on woodmanship year round. They see a tree, they don't know what it is, they're going to look it up.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. I mean, little things that you try to get better every day. Where as another guy that isn't as obsessed as we are would just say, "I shot my turkey." You know, that's it.
Yeah. can't tell you how he did. You know, like what sync like, you know, scenario happened. He can't describe how it happened or what he used to lure the bird in. He just right place, right time. Yeah, I mean, I'll go into every detail.
Oh man,
I know
could
the
tell you
barometric pressure
what
and
blade of
everything.
grass I sat on, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's put you in a couple scenarios here and see kind of how you would approach it. Public land, never been there before. The only scouting you've been able to do is on Onyx or satellite imaging, that kind of thing. You don't get there until midday, around noon. Say it's a state you can hunt later in the afternoon. What are you doing midday to try to get on a bird?
Like I said, crow call is a big thing for me. Midday, most of your guys that hunted that morning probably already funneled out.
Mm-hmm.
And midday is really when you're killing a lot of turkeys. At 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., really, I mean, just that kind of mid-morning to lunch area, a lot of guys have already hung it up, and they're at the breakfast diner eating breakfast, probably without a bird, and they don't hung their hat on the day. So, I mean, you're coming into a really good time to hunt. I mean, it's hard to beat a turkey that comes off the roost, but that midday, mid-morning, man, it's unreal. A lot of turkeys die then. If you stay in the woods, stay after it. No, I'd like to say just try to find an open pull off, but I'm pretty sure midday you're going to find a good bit of open pull off. If you've never been there before, just kind of taking it, finding food sources, good long ridges, creek bottoms that meet good long ridges. Things that just make sense. Things that you really can't even explain, but you just see it on a map and you're like, man, that looks turkey.
Right.
Yeah.
I have on my Onyx. I can't pronounce this, so don't shoot me in the foot. But it's like the figuous versus coniguous or contiguous.
Yeah, I
I
know what
don't
you
know
mean.
the terms, but pretty much it shows trees that are food sources, and then just like pine trees, trees that aren't food sources.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this might not be right, but this is kind of the thing I've always done is where those two meet, where let's say it's pines and a good stretch of hardwoods, and then there's a creek bottom close by. Like you got all three right there. Man, there's got to be a turkey close.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a turkey here somewhere, and then just hitting a crow call, if you get one to fire off. Some people like to cut at them to locate them, but really I don't want to make a turkey sound until I'm ready to make a turkey sound. And if I am going to make a turkey sound, I want to know, like if I'm going to cut at him here and he gobbles at 100, 150 yards, I already need to have a tree picked out. A good tree, a killing tree where I feel like I could kill that turkey from. Because, I mean, if you just cut at him and he gobbles and you're just, now what? Then you're going to make a bad decision. You're going to sit against the pine tree this big around. Brett, Dylan, none of us are going to look good against that tree.
Right. Yeah. And he could be on the way.
Yeah, and he could come there just like that. You never know how he's feeling. So I think already having that killing tree picked out too is a big thing after you figure out where you want to call it.
What about like soft calling as you're like walking, doing some like feeding wines and that sort of thing? Is that something that you ever do or have been successful at getting one to just fire off out of the middle of nowhere?
It has worked before for me. I feel like if I can walk quietly and get to where I want to be, I'm going to walk quietly and get to where I want to be. Mm-hmm. If there's a ton of leaves, dry pine straw, I can't walk quietly to get to where I want to be. Then I'm just going to go ahead and scratch while I'm at it, throw in a couple bubble clucks, and I won't do a full tree up. I'll just do like a 1 or 2 note, just bubble cluck, kick some leaves around. Because, I mean, that's what they do. If you ever see trail camera videos, I mean, that's what they do. They scratch. Yep. And it's just like a 2 or 3 note tree yelp. I mean, it's barely audible on a trail camera. And, I mean, if I have to be loud walking, I might as well make it seem like I'm a turkey and not go busting up this ridge and bust that gobbler that just gobbled. That's just not a way to be. So to get where I want to be, if I can be quiet, I'm going to get quiet. And like I said, make my call when I'm ready, when I know I can kill them from where I'm at. But if I have to be loud walking, I'll go ahead and scratch and bubble cluck, tree call, cluck and perk, whatever.
That's awesome. I've had a little bit of success with it. I wasn't when I had success with it, I wasn't exactly all that great with the mouth call. So I would just do the like the whine with my mouth and just walk and scratch the leaves, look for mushrooms and sheds at the same time, and then kind of listen while I was doing it. And I've had one fire off before and then get set up and end up killing him. Actually, I did it on public lane in Kentucky. I don't know, 10 years ago or so, just walking through, scratching, looking for sheds and mushrooms, and doing a yelp every now and then, and got him to fire off and pulled him right in there.
Sure. It works, no doubt.
Paul, our friend Paul Campbell, wanted me to ask you to tell a story about your guys' hunt in Florida a couple of years ago.
I knew that's where this was going. Y'all said you knew Philip Vanderpool.
Yes, sir.
Anyone listening to this podcast, surely they know Philip Vanderpool if they're listening to a hunting podcast. Especially with one with me on it. I mean, you got to be deep in the weeds if I'm on it. Like, you got to be in the lost and found or something. But Paul lined up a hunt for us in Florida. So a little bit of backstory. The 2023 season, my goal was to get a single season double Royal Slam. So pretty much a double Royal Slam in one season. I guess for people who don't know what a double Royal Slam is, that'd be a Grand Slam, which would be the 4 in the States, times 2, and then 2 in Mexico, 2 Goulds. So the goal was to get a double Royal Slam in one season. And we already killed one in Florida, and it was, rough getting that bird. It took a lot of effort to get him. But then with the second bird, Paul was like, hey, y'all have helped out the NWTF, whatever. So we went to one of those places,
Right.
And there's this great big old tree. I don't know my trees as well as I should, but this sucker was big. Oh, it was a live oak. That's what it was. And this sucker, I mean, it's big. Like, we put me, Paul, my dad, and Dylan Hazen behind the camera, all 4 of us on this same tree comfortably. I mean, the roots were so big, they'd make little pockets for you to sit in.
Wow.
And all 4 of us sat on one side of the tree to put into perspective how big this tree is. And there's a little barbed wire fence on this side. It's a pretty big open field, but it gets into some wood to the right. And we were sitting there. The woods were waking up. And they were started to wake up a little bit. They were waking up, but the gobblers weren't waking up. You keep cutting your eyes at Paul, like, what's going on? The guard hold us. And my dad says, man, if I were a turkey, I'd be roosted in that tree right there. And, of course, the turkey hadn't gobbled in that tree. And I'm looking. We got Philip under said tree. And he's got his camera, too. He's got a second angle camera. And, man, that viewfinder, I mean, if the brightness went up to 100 on that viewfinder, he had it on 250. And that sucker, I mean, it looked like he had a disco ball, like, under the tree. I was like, God. And I wanted to text him and say something. I knew he had to be on his phone and the viewfinder both or something, because it was bright. But I was like, man, I ain't going to worry about it. I mean, the woods, they ain't even doing much. I'm just going to let them be. Well, about 5 minutes goes by, and the first gobble we heard all morning was in Philip's tree. And, man, that light, I mean, the viewfinder, the phone, dude, the second that gobble went off, you could see him shake. Like, you saw the light shake, and the light just slowly turns down, just like. And that was great. I mean, that's one of the highlights of that entire year for me. Long story short, we killed the bird, of course. Me and Dylan actually doubled. I shot past him the gun, and we caught in another pair of birds. But, yeah, that was a really fun trip. Pretty funny story about Philip. I asked him if he had some droppings land on him, or, something surely, sitting there
Good.
with that bird in the same tree. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. And we did actually end up getting that single season double Royal Slam. So
talk about it. Let's hear it, man.
Yeah. 2 in Florida. I ended up killing 5 Easterns, I think. 2 in Alabama. 1 by myself. 1 in front of the camera. Eastern in Missouri. Eastern in Mississippi. And 1 more somewhere. 5 for sure. I just don't know. I think I think at the time Kansas was still 2 birds. It's 1 now, but I think at the time it was still 2. I think I killed 2 in Kansas. I killed 2 in Montana, and then I killed 2 in Mexico. So, yeah, we ended up getting it done. That was, I mean, obviously a very memorable season. That's a pretty
Yeah.
big feat to set out, and the fact that we got it done was pretty neat. So,
Yeah, I saw the little clip. That's actually the video I was watching right before Dylan joined our StreamYard here. But I saw the little clip of your dad, getting emotional about it. He's saying it's not just another bird. I mean, how much did that mean to you to do that even with
oh
him
yeah,
too?
man, that was so cool. And then the last, I mean, every kill was kind of emotional just because we knew what we were setting out for, and it was kind of all panning out. The last bird I killed was in Montana, and long story short, we were hunting public. And long story short, man, we killed one. It was so windy. Um, I think they were calling it like a key box or something, just something real loud and just a different sound.
Mm-hmm.
And one gobbled, we thought, but it was one of those. I mean, it was very windy. I mean, gusts of probably 30 miles an hour, and we couldn't hear much of anything. 20, 30 miles an hour. We couldn't hear anything. And we set up on them anyway. A couple jakes, a couple hens went up the ridge beside us. Couple deer did too. And we thought thought it was a jake that had a good gobble. Well, then he gobbles again out in front of us, and he wouldn't come. Like he was hung up, and I gobbled at him with my mouth, and he gobbled right back, gave away his position, and he was like 20 yards away, stuck his head up, and I shot him. So we got the first one out the way. Now we just needed one more, and this whole thing was done, right? But we really only had a limited amount of time to do it. And like I said, public, man, it was just a bust. I mean, we just couldn't find a bird. And long story short, we were driving probably to more public, if I had to guess. I can't remember exactly. And we saw a bird strutting out in this field with 3, 4 hens. We door knocked, and you have a lot better. The further west and the further north you get, you have a lot better odds of a door knock being a yes than a no. Because I mean, if you ask down here, they're like, "Well, you could hunt, but my uncle's dog, squirrel dog, all hunt turkeys here." And I'm like, "Well, you only have 5 acres, so where are we all going to sit?" That's how it is down here. Long story short, we knocked on his door, got permission. The next morning, I mean, there was only one tree he could have been reached in, one great big tree, and we set up on him. When we probably got there hour and a half before shooting light, of course. And man, everything just went perfect. Flew down, gobbled, did the whole show, came in. We did have a decoy. It was a huge field in Montana. What can you do? Right. And he had hens with him. We knew that from the get-go. It was just him and hens. So why would he leave them for a hen squawking over here in the middle of this cedar tree?
Right.
And then he's going to start asking, why is the cedar tree yelping so loud? And then it's a whole debacle. But long story short, I killed that turkey. And, yeah, we got it done. That was – and yeah, it meant a lot to me. My dad, after – I shot that turkey, he just kind of hugged me and said, we did it. And it's like we did it,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's freaking priceless.
It really is.
Chasing all these birds on these slams and stuff, what's the combination you like? Do you like, the Easterns in Alabama or Mississippi? Like, what's your favorite type of bird to chase? I know it's a generic question, but.
Subspecies is Eastern. And I think one factor that plays into that is as turkey hunters, we like a challenge. As a turkey hunter, not a guy who shoots a turkey or 2 every year.
Right.
As a turkey hunter, I love a morning where he gobbles on the roost, gobbles his brains out on his own. I make one yelp, he flies down, struts the whole way in, gobbles the whole way in. You can't beat it,
Right.
But it's an even better feeling to hunt a turkey was a hard-headed turkey. And you got them to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you deal with a lot more turkeys that will fool you more than you fool them with an Eastern. And then, kind of the subheader there would be Alabama for me, no doubt. I feel like.
Yeah. Another question I kind of had, I guess I just really haven't. I mean, I'm a big turkey hunter, but like Gould's has never been like something I thought about going after, anything like that. Talk about going down to Mexico. I mean, it's a whole different ball game, I'm sure, down there going to places. How does that all kind of play out when you're down in another country?
Yeah. Goulds are very I better watch what I say because this year will be the year. But they're easily the easiest turkey to kill. I mean, obviously, that's for lack of pressure. You're going with of course it's guided. You don't want to just drive across the border and where's the public? They're gonna be like, what is this guy talking about? We go with Gould's Turkey Hunt, Jay Scott, and they just do a great outfit there. I mean, it's really, I never get nervous. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Going to Mexico, so they really do a good job of that, making sure you're safe. Confident in what you're doing, where you're going.
Yeah.
Flying to Chihuahua, it depends on the camp you go to, but usually it's a couple hours to a few hour drive. Because you're going way back in there. It's like 2 hours on the pavement, and then another 2 or 3 hours back to the camp. And I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you can imagine middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. But it is just gorgeous. I mean, you're like 9,000 feet of elevation. And it's just as pretty as it gets. Like, I wish I could show like what I'm imagining right now just from my experiences. And then, like I said, Turkey's just no pressure. I mean, it's just it's a bucket list place to go for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and talking some turkeys with us tonight, man.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on, man. It was an honor. I appreciate y'all even thinking about me to have me on.
Yeah, next time we'll have to get you on, and I'll give you the heads up, and you can get some calls with you next time. Play around on
Yeah,
it.
man, you kind of just threw me to the dogs here.
Oh yeah, I would.
And here's the thing: I could have looked decent too, because if I recall correctly, Shane and Scott neither called.
No, we haven't had anybody call on here yet.
So my point being is, if they didn't call, I can look decent until they do call. You see what I'm saying?
Hey, well, you are the first guest we've had that's actually smacked a turkey this year, so that's got you got that going.
No, I'm gonna let you do the trash talk there. I will never say a cross word about Shane Simpson.
No. They're great guys. They just haven't been to Florida yet. I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't checked in with Scott. I don't know if Scott has had luck this past weekend.
I believe he went. Did he not? Or
Yeah, he did.
planned on going? Yeah.
I try not to. I know when it's turkey time, I'll lay back and I'll get my updates later on, and
Sure.
when it's easier. But no, man, it's almost here for me in Tennessee, and I can't wait. I have been watching Shane's stuff, Scott's stuff, your stuff.
Man, those guys are incredible, man. I mean, they're gonna have good springs. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they're just good as it gets, man.
Absolutely. Well, tell everybody where they can find you on socials, what's going on with WoodHaven and all that good stuff.
Yeah, on socials, Instagram, Issac D Pentecost, Issac ISAAC. For those people that always put the 2 S's, I can't stand that crap right there. I mean, yeah, Issac Pentecost on just about every social platform: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that. And then, yeah, WoodHaven Custom Calls, all social platforms. And yeah, we got a lot of big things coming. We got some film stuff coming that's going to be pretty sick. That obviously isn't announced to the public. No one knows about that yet, but
right,
we got a lot of cool things coming. Lord willing, it's going to be a good spring. I'm not in control of that. All I can do is go, but it's in His hands, and I'm trusting it's going to be good. So it's about all I got, man. I'm fired up. Hope y'all boys have a good spring too.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck going forward, buddy.
Yeah.
But if you guys are in podcast land, do a rate and review for us, or if you're on YouTube, hit that like, subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. But we'll be back here again next week with episode 107 with the Michael Chamberlain. We'll see you guys later.